Okay, so the most engaged, effective, productive team that I ever worked with never had a single team offsite. And I'm not saying that you should be foregoing offsites, but what I'm saying is that sometimes we think of culture and engagement as something that we layer on top of work. So you do your job, and then you go to the offsite, or then you meet with your affinity group, or you go to your mentoring session. And something like a team offsite is really just a couple of days per year, right? So that's less than 1% of the time that we actually spend interacting with the company and with our colleagues. Well, what's happening in the other 99%? We often think of engagement as something that's like just how much fun people are having, how inspired they are by the company mission. But engagement is more than that. It's also people believing I can show up, I can bring my best self to work, I can do my best work, and I can achieve a result that I'm proud of in the world. Yes, having fun and connecting is part of that, but it's just part of it. So what made my team so engaged? We were having fun doing great work together. We were completely global, so we had to have great acing processes. We documented everything. We had seamless handoffs. We supported one another's work in the day-to-day. And not only did we achieve great results, but we built connections that are super strong. Some of these people are my best friends to this day. When work is easy and effective, people like to do it. They start to feel good about it. They relax. They show up with confidence, and they start to collaborate better, right? They see their colleagues as valuable resources. They start to enjoy their coworkers and be part of a good team. But meanwhile, if people don't feel good about the work that they're doing in the day-to-day, there is no offsite that will be transformative enough to fix that. So if you're thinking about culture and engagement, that's something separate from the day-to-day experience of working at your company, that's the tip of the iceberg. You're missing 99% of the picture. Okay. That's it for me.
Next up, we need Staub from DBT Labs. Leigh?
We hear people talk about engagement like it's about scores, attendance, happiness, or happy hours. And like JJ said, let's be real, it's not just about having fun. It's about making work better. And the biggest lever for engagement are managers. Here's the problem though, our managers are drowning in competing priorities. If we want engaged teams, we have to start by removing friction for our managers. At DBT Labs, we put this philosophy into action by tackling a major pain point, our merit and promotion compensation process. Managers were stuck in spreadsheets, wrestling with manual inputs, and burning time that could be spent growing and developing their teams. So we built a better system, one that streamlined compensation recommendations, cut out inefficiencies, and leaned heavily on a new tool, enablement, and a lot of documentation. This was not rolling out a net new initiative. It was about improving an existing, reoccurring process to make their lives easier. The result, managers told us this change saved them hours, twice a year, freeing them up for more impactful work. And something bigger happened. By solving a real problem for our managers, we built trust with our managers. And by building that trust, it creates buy-in for actioning engagement feedback, navigating organization changes, and everything else that we want to drive. So if you want to improve engagement, don't just add more stuff. Start by removing what's slowing people down. Make work less frustrating and engagement will follow, because the best way to support our employees is to support the people leading them. Thank you.
Thank you, Leigh. Next up, Georgie Roberts from Float. Georgie.
What do you know about your team members that I couldn't find out about them on LinkedIn? Over the next 2 minutes, I'll show you how curiosity is your engagement superpower. Now, good listening is not just about designing really good surveys, although please definitely do that. It's about knowing when to sit back, watch, and observe. I'll give you 2 examples of curiosity in action. First example, recruitment onboarding. At Float, when you join our team, you answer 3 questions about yourself when you introduce yourself to the team in Slack. Now, last year we had a new starter, I'll call her Jo. We found out that she loved horror movies, horror podcasts, anything to do with horror, and she responded to those questions in Slack. We had 75% of our team reply to that thread. Now, not only was that a really warm welcome, but that she was actually seen by the team, not just joining the team. Second example, Slack. Who here, can I see your hand, is worrying about Slack right now? At the break, what's going to be happening in your Slack? We have that same problem at Float. Now, we saw 2 responses to that problem. Number 1, do we create some guidelines, share them with the team, tell them to follow the process? Second option, do we ask our team, how would you like to use Slack? What are we doing wrong? What is Slack best practice? Let's source some guidelines together. Surprise, surprise, in the last 4 weeks, 50% of our team have reviewed those guidelines. We launched them last year. So what do these 2 examples show you? I'll leave you with a final thought. When I asked you how well you knew your team, was it about what's on their CV? Or does it come down to being curious about the way that they like to work and who they are as people and how they'll connect with others and with their work? At the heart of that is curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Georgie. We really appreciate it. Chase Warrington from Doist.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I wanted to share a quick story about a big win that we had this year at Doist, and it relates to what we call our strategic planning process. It's basically how we build our annual roadmap and then distribute work on a quarterly basis to the rest of the team. A lot of times when we talk about words like engagement or culture, we tend to kind of go to what some might call the fluffier side of work. It's how we connect with each other personally. And while I think that's super important, I spend a lot of time working on that at Doist, we also need to recognize that the thing that unites us is the work. This is the reason we get together every day. This is what binds us as a team. So the conversation around engagement, kind of a red thread with all of these topics so far, is that we need to really start with the work. And that sounds super simple and obvious. But at Doist, we were failing at this for a long time. We as a leadership team were basically designing the work, creating the roadmap, and giving it to the team. Not a lot of engagement from the rest of the company, and this is the work that they're going to be working on for the next 3 to 12 months. So this year we tried to do something different. At our all-hands retreat in Q4 of 2024, our CEO stood up on stage and he kind of just gave us an objective. He said, in 2025, we're going to 2x our daily active users. And everybody sat there like, okay, what's the plan? How are we going to do it? He was like, you're going to create the plan. I don't have it. So starting there in person and very synchronously, we started working on that plan together. Then over the subsequent several weeks, each individual Doister collaborated with their respective head to create a departmental roadmap that would get us as a company to the ultimate 2x goal. That ultimately led to what is now the most comprehensive and ambitious plan that we've ever had as a company. And even more importantly, statistically speaking, it's the one that the team is the most engaged in because they chose it and they feel connected to it. So we simultaneously increased engagement, ambition, and output by bringing everyone inside the strategic planning process. Wanted to share that with you today. Thanks.
Thank you, Chase. We'll hear from you a little bit later. Welcoming Julie Armendariz from Block.
Okay, so my perspective is that of an HR business partner where I work closely with executives and their management teams. And I want to talk about making magical moments out of mundane moments. So let me share an example from earlier this year. It was January, and it was our first senior leadership team meeting after the holidays. So this was our VP of engineering, his directors, and myself. And the VP kicked off the meeting and said, hey, everybody, welcome back. Hope you had great holidays. We have a full agenda, so we're going to dive right in. And I politely interrupted and asked if we could just take 1 minute each and share something from our holidays. And in those few minutes, we learned that one team member was unexpectedly dealing with a sick family member who was actually still in the hospital. So their holidays were not great. And we also learned that another team member was really excited because they were going back to their home country of Taiwan at the end of January to see family that they hadn't seen in more than 5 years. And so because of those quick, small shares, we were able to send a DoorDash gift card to the teammate with a sick family member so that they could have a few easy meals and one less worry. And we were also able to celebrate the team members' trip to Taiwan when they came back in February. We did that async. So they shared trip highlights, photos, and they even put a family recipe in our Slack channel, which was pretty cool. And because of that tiny pause in a routine, mundane staff call, we were able to drive engagement. Because oftentimes, engagement is about those small, consistent moments where we just show that we care, whether it's in staff calls or one-on-ones or even asynchronously. And we all know that when you do that consistently, you're creating a place that people want to work. They want to do their best work. And they're actually opting in to being engaged. They want to grow themselves. They want to make things better. And those are the kind of people that you want at your company. So I challenge you all to look for the magical mundane moments in your everyday work because they're everywhere and they can be really powerful if you leverage them. Thanks.
I love that. No mundane moments here, though, right? Welcoming from HubSpot, Meaghan Williams.
So a few years ago, as our remote population rapidly expanded, we at HubSpot faced a challenge that I'm sure many of you are familiar with: connection. We had these brilliant employees working from big cities like Austin, Texas, to small towns on the coast of Australia, but many of them felt like they were working alone. No hallway chat, no office buzz, just Slack pings and Zoom fatigue. We've all been there, I'm sure. So we asked ourselves, how can we help our remote employees feel like they belong? Not just to their teams, not just to the company, but to the culture. Flying everyone to HQ is not scalable at our size, not sustainable, definitely. And virtual-only events, they're just not always meaningful. We needed something different. Something local, something human, something effective. That's when we launched our meetups program, and here's how it works. Beginning on day one, as soon as a remote employee joins HubSpot, they're automatically added to a local Slack channel through a Workday integration. From there, they can start building local connection with other HubSpotters who live nearby. When they're ready to take that connection face-to-face, we make it easy for them. Every remote employee gets a quarterly budget for them to connect in whatever way feels authentic to them. For some folks, it's small. It's coffee with a coworker or dinner with a new hire. For other folks, it's big. We've seen groups in San Diego take a boat out for the day. We saw a group in Germany take a cooking class. We saw a group in Florida go to Disney World for the day. I mean, whatever you want, right? But these aren't just meetups. They're moments of real connection and belonging. And they work. Our data shows that our remote employees feel just as connected as their in-office counterparts, and in fact, report higher engagement, higher eNPS, and a stronger intent to stay. Because that's the power of proximity. Your engagement efforts don't have to be loud, they don't have to be large scale, as Julie just pointed out. They just have to be real and rooted in the places that people already call home. Thank you.
He traveled far and wide from 3 blocks away.
3 blocks, yes.
From Atlassian, Mark Cruth.
Hi, everyone. I love these fast-paced things. So, all right, so I work for Atlassian, and at Atlassian, we do a ton of research. Look at teamwork, we look at engagement. But along with that research, we also do a lot of practical implementations. You've probably heard of our Teamwork Lab, our Team Anywhere initiative. With that Teamwork Lab, what we end up doing is we go and experiment with different problems around employee engagement. from those, we don't simply just say, hey, here's what we did. We actually implement changes in our organization. And with those changes, we then share them, not just with Atlassian, but with the rest of the world through our Atlassian Team Playbook. The Team Playbook is a great free resource that gives you all these different things that we do in Atlassian, how we work, how we engage with each other. And so what I want to do, and I want to share with you 3 of those that I find are the most effective for really engaging your people. The first one is we believe everyone should have a personal user manual. Now, when I think about electronics, like a TV, you get a user manual. When you hire a person, no user manual. You don't know what motivates them. You don't know what pisses them off. You don't know how to engage with them. So user manuals enable us to help our people not just know what they do, but how they work. The second thing we like to do is what we call is get shit done days. This is another great play that allows teams to own their time. What they end up doing is they take their day, they clear their calendars, and they focus on what's most important. They control when they do this, what they do, and it gives them that driver's seat. The third play we have is really the first play in our playbook. It's called a team health monitor. We want our teams to be able to essentially self-assess. How are we doing? Do we have the good ways of working? Do we have alignment? We want them to take that opportunity to think about that on a regular basis. And so with these are just 3 of those plays that we find help with that engagement. There's 57 other ones out there. So go check out the Atlassian Team Playbook and see what you can do to put some practical changes into your world. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We hope you have a safe trip home. I have some jet lag tips if you need it. Tiffiney Fort, she's the Director of Employee Experience at Coursera.
Hi, are you enjoying this? These are some really great information bites. All right, so for me, I am a huge mystery fan. Is anybody a mystery fan? Okay, I actually see quite a bit of you out there. Sherlock Holmes said, they see but they do not observe. And I think that that is true for about 90% of people who work remotely. We see ourselves working on Zoom meetings every day. We see ourselves using Slack. We see ourselves on Google Docs, and we think, oh my gosh, I'm fabulous. I've got remote work down. But the truth is that there are so many nuances, and there's such a breadth of information that you have to really make remote work well that most people aren't aware of. So my premise is this. Number 1, they won't be aware of it unless you teach them. And number 2, that you can do that education woven in to all the other education that you already do. So it's not like some separate class that people take. It's really relevant and powerful to them in that moment. And I'll give you a couple examples. You're doing onboarding training. Have you talked to the people at your company as they're coming in and said, please do not have your camera just close in on your face. Let's have your whole body showing so we can read body language across the globe, right? Or what about this? You are looking at educating your leaders on how to do performance management. Have you talked to them about how unconscious bias can come in with the unprecedented access we have into people's homes and lives? And how when they're aware of that, they can take that and turn it into much, much better and closer connection as individuals. When you begin to embed this kind of education in everything you do, what happens is your people no longer just see themselves doing tasks, but every person in your company begins to become aware and observe how the medium is as important as the messages that they're giving, and how everything they do can be affected if they're thinking about it, really truly thinking about it. And by doing that, you no longer have just 1 or 2 people at your company who are trying to train everyone on how to do connection better, but your entire company begins to become more aware, begins to work better, and it improves productivity, it improves innovation, it improves collaboration, your people connect better, and your whole company actually succeeds. That was a good. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffiney. And ladies and gentlemen, her trip was a little bit farther from Mark's. Joining us from Lagos, Nigeria, Adora Ikwuemesi. Round of applause.
Hello. Hello, thank you. And thank you for this great opportunity. Hello, USA. Hello, USA. So, connection must be designed. So, if you're like me, you started your career disengaged. Anyone can relate? We talk a lot about engagement, and especially when we're managers, we're leaders, we seem to forget that there was a time we were also disengaged. Can anyone relate? Yeah? Exactly. But we make it seem like, we can't understand them, why are they like that? But the truth is that in the office, connection happens by accident. But when you're working remotely, it must be designed. So, a lot of people have been telling us here about connection, but what exactly is connection? Connection is an experience. It's the experience of feeling seen, heard, and valued. When people are working remotely, it's very easy to be disconnected. And being connected is the most fragile part of actually working remotely. But I'll give you some tips. You may want to write this down. How do you stay connected when you're working remotely? Clarity is one. People need to be sure where exactly they fit in. Comfort is another. You need to see people as individuals. You need to understand individual differences and nuances. Like, I have a 6-year-old son, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and they're really missing me right now. And 3, we must celebrate. We must recognize progress, that we're better today than we were tomorrow. It's very important. And we must continue to communicate. And last but not least, we must connect. And what do I mean by connection? Those human moments. We must look at for those human moments and connect on a very personal level. And my final note, and please, you must repeat after me. Be connected by design, not by accident. Thank you.
That was amazing. And Sarah Walker from LTSE. But it was like very organic.
My career has enabled me to live in several different cities. San Francisco, Phoenix, Minneapolis, Chicago, Nashville, New York City. And there's one thing that's been on the journey with me this whole time, and that's my bookshelf. But not just any bookshelf, a bookshelf that I built, my IKEA bookshelf. Research shows that IKEA customers are more likely to value the resale price of their bookshelf higher than one that they would purchase at a store. Why? Because they formed a sense of ownership and engaged with the object with a hands-on process of building it. It's a psychological phenomenon. We value things more when we've had a hand in creating them. So with employees, it's more about just putting screws in place. You need to ensure they have clear goals, a transparent way to measure their performance, and direct and frequent communication. At LTSE, we've adopted this approach. First and foremost, goal setting. Think about it like when you're putting the pieces of the bookshelf together and you've got a very simple manual that's guiding you through each step. 2, performance measurement. That's real time, it's transparent. Employees can actually track their progress, just like when you're like, is this panel fitting on in the right place? And then lastly, communication. That's continuous. It allows us to make adjustments along the way and celebrate successes, just like that final satisfying click when you put the final bookshelf together. This approach not only boosts engagement, but it also aligns with LTSE's principles. By treating employees as stakeholders, we ensure they have ownership in the process. When employees feel involved in the creation of their work, when they can see the progress, they understand how they fit into the bigger picture. They will be more invested in the outcome of your business. So I've moved my bookshelf. I'm going to keep moving my bookshelf because I'm invested in it. And if you want engagement with your employees, just remember that cultivating performance is very simple. Have clear goals, provide transparent feedback on performance, and create pathways for frequent and direct communication. And if you're in the market for a bookshelf, come see me after. Thanks.
All right, and let's bring up the entire group. Come on. We want a group photo.
Amazing.
Round of applause. Cheese. All right, right at the camera. Okay, thanks once again.